Okay, so to make the bag you need a good cutting mat, a metal ruler, a scalpel with a brand new blade in it. Obviously I don't need to say that be very careful when you're using a blade like this, and if you've never used one before, either use scissors, which will be more difficult, or just practice a bit with this. I've got a very good quality all-purpose adhesive for paper and a black felt pen. Okay, so after you've printed off your 3 sheets of card, front, back and sides, they look like this, 2 sides, 1, 2. Before you actually cut the bag out, you must score the score marks and line them up, because it's the folding of the bag that probably is the most difficult thing you can do. I think it took me longer to design this bag than it did to design the boots, and it's the folding and the scoring that really make it work properly. So to do a score, take your metal ruler and line it up perfectly with the pink dots at the top and the pink dots at the bottom, just so the point at the end of those pink dots, just so you can see them, just about see them. Then you can run the back of your scalpel. Don't run the front, because otherwise you'll cut the paper, but run the back of the scalpel firmly down the score marks. So there's 1, 2, 3 and 4. Again, lining up. Really take your time with this, because if the score marks aren't in the right place, it'll make folding the bag very, very difficult. So that's the front of the back done. The front of the bag. The back of the bag is probably exactly the same as the front. Again, 4 score, 1, 2, 3, 4. But the only difference on the back, and it's not marked up on here, but it will be on yours, where the bag actually bends, I'll show you the bag here, where the bag folds up and bends like that neatly, we need to do another score mark. So I've just put some dots on here for myself, but for you it'll already be printed on the paper. So there, straight across the back. Now the sides, this is a little bit more different, and I've done some of these already, but there's a little dot just there. What you need to do first of all is line up the pink line with the one right down at the bottom, which is down here, and then score as far as the dot. So don't hide the dot completely, otherwise you won't know where to stop, but there's the dot, and I'm going to score along there to the dot. And on both sides. Along there, just to the dot. Now also we need to score, because these parts are the back of the bag, from dot to dot. And then, I've done this already, we score from the dot along the pink line. From there down through the pink line, that way, then again that way along the pink line, and that way. And don't forget to score, because once I've done that, I think I've done everything. You then score across the bottom of the sides, lining up the pink dots, and the top. Those are lined up. So make sure you have scored wherever it says score. Now we need to cut them out. So you're cutting round the grey line and down the black line here and along the grey line here, on all the way round. And again, when you're cutting, just make sure you can only just see the grey line and only just see the black line, and then you'll know you're cutting in the right place. Across the top. I've got a bit of a shadow. Try not to get a shadow because you can't see as well. Got a terrible shadow on here. I prefer to cut twice gently, because if you press too hard, the ruler is likely to slip. Then I'm going to just cut across. This is a slope because it's a kind of tab at the bottom of the bag. Then again round here. Oh, be careful, I was about to cut off there. Don't cut that, that's the top of the bag, don't cut that off. And then the tabs. Yes, so that's a side piece. Do be careful not to cut this top piece off because it looks like it's an excess piece, but it should look like that with a little slopey bit at the bottom and a straight bit at the top. After you've cut out your pieces, you should have 4 separate pieces. Make sure each one is shaped like mine. That's the front. That's the back. And these are the 2 sides. Like so. Now it's the folding, especially of these sides, that make the bag really work. Let me show you. As you can see, all this has to be folded in such a way that it really does work like a proper gift bag. Okay, so starting with D, pick up your D side. For this, what you need to make sure happens is that where you've scored down the middle there, you need to fold, not all the way down, but just as far as the dot. Okay, then I'll move that out of the way. We need to make sure that this will fold up like so. So I'll do that again. You fold up on D like this. Once D is doing that, you then need to fold back the tab. And you'd scored down there, so that folds very easily along there. Then you also need to fold the top down, then again round, D up, it should look like that. I'll do that again. Fold down there, fold in and fold up on this hinge here so that it looks like that. Just really score those sides. Okay, now for the other side. So again, the side with C and B on it, you'll need to bend down, start with, down that central line, only as far as the dot, and then you want to bring it up on this hinge. So bend that hinge like that, and that folds neatly down there. The tab will fold neatly backwards because you've scored it perfectly. And then you can open it up and fold back the top and then back again like so. So there you've got your 2 sides C and B will be on the left hand side of the bag, and D and A will be on the right side. And they should look like this. Now, the rest of the bag is very easy to fold. Along your score lines, along there. Of course, this also goes up there, because that's going that way. Then we need to score these tabs over. Make sure they're absolutely and then this tab over. And this tab. Uh-oh. Yes, you can see I haven't scored this. That got missed off. So I'll have to very carefully do that now by getting my ruler and trying to just judge it as best I can. Where's my scalpel? So from that little indent there, it's got to be halfway. So I would say that's the halfway mark just there where the tab starts. So if you can just get that line absolutely equal on both all the way along, you'll have to eyeball it now because I've cut it out. That should score along there. So now that folds very easily. Now then, when you've folded those in, then I would bend up again, because it's got to sort of make a double bend there. So that goes in. There you go, that's all perfectly folded. So that's the back of the bag. Back of the bag, fold in the tabs, fold up the middle, then down, and then down there. Right, now then, the front. Have I scored it all? Yes, I did. So the front is much more straightforward. There we go. There's another one. There's another one. Okay. Now then, you might notice that if you've scored these quite well, when you've folded them, the paper kind of cracks like that, and that doesn't look very nice. Well, I don't like it anyway. So what I like to do is go round all my folds with an indelible, thick-nibbed black felt pen, and very carefully, don't let your pen slip, just go along like that. It makes such a difference to the overall look of the bag if you just go round those pieces like that. So all the way round where you've folded, just mark it. See how white that is with the black felt pen. Now when you come to mark the sides, yes, I would do across the top, but also I quite like to do the very edge, because when you stick it down you don't see that edge, so I like to just go along there with the black felt pen. Also, don't forget that little crack there, because that will get even more and more visible as you fold the bag. So just get rid of that there, and all these little corners here that have got quite white. Just makes a huge difference. Okay, so here's a good example of what not to do. I was running my pen across the top and it slipped and I've got a little black mark there, and I haven't got any Tipp-Ex. I was just going to wipe that out with Tipp-Ex because it's the back of the bag, so hopefully it won't show. Okay, now we need to glue our pieces together. Glue side panel A here first. So side panel A is going to be glued exactly there. Don't overlap it because that's where the bag is going to fold. So again, I've got my good quality glue. This can be so messy. And I'm just spreading it down here. Don't go too close to the edge, but also don't go too far away from it, because the glue will spread. And what I have forgotten to do is put a piece of paper under here, because the last thing you want is to get glue on your cutting board. Right, so I'll go and get a piece of paper to put on there. Right, so carefully slip A, matching up all the lines. Gosh, this glue's strong. But don't overlap the fold. I match that up perfectly. There we go. Because you want these folds to match as well. So there's A. So now it says glue side B here. So there's side B. That's going to be glued onto here. So again, just spread it around. And then slide B into position without overlapping the fold. That sticks quite nicely. There. Okay. So the next one, oops, gosh, torn that, that's not good. I'm rushing a bit here. Do take your time, it's well worth it. So C needs to go onto here. Oops. So let's get some glue onto side C. Put plenty where these hinges are because they take an awful lot of stress. See here? Whoops. Then you can neatly fix. Actually, I'm just going to put a bit more down here. Oh dear. so that lines up with there. You absolutely want your folds to match up as best you can. Hopefully that will be all right. Okay. Now then, the next thing to do is to fold down the top of the bag. Oh look, a bit more glue needed in there. So look, see there, you can see where I've missed off the black line, so I'll redo that later. So now we've got that side done. And this is where it gets tricky. We want this to fold up and out. I think we'll do that once we've stuck this along here. So that's the last place you want to stick. So it says there D, side glue panel D last. So if we plenty of glue down there. Actually, if you take your time, it's a good idea to let it air dry for a bit before you stick it, but I'm rushing. So now we want to slide that under the tab. See this tab here? Just slide that under there. You can lay it flat because it's bending here. And there. So this is beginning to look like a bag. If we just put those under. Slide that neatly into position. So I'm just going to leave that now and just pop that in the airing cupboard because I want the glue that's glued so far to be absolutely dry, because when you start to bend and fold it, that's when you're going to reveal some weaknesses. So just make sure it's dry, and now's a good time to actually make the cord. So the cord is very easy, and there are various ways of doing a cord actually, but I'm just doing the easiest version you can have. Again, I've got glue all over my fingers. A slip knot. Then I would make a chain of about 75, but have a look and see, you know, after 75 if you want it to be a bit longer or a bit shorter. Remember, you've got to thread it through the holes in the bag and tie little knots at the end. So with a 3mm hook, I'm doing a chain of 75. Actually, I stopped at 70 because it was getting rather long. So after my chain of 70, then what you're going to do is crochet in the second. If you turn it over and see the bumps going down the back of the chain, there's the chain on the front, on the back you've got the bumps, there's your first bump. Now we're just going to slip stitch into each of those bumps. So you put your needle through, grab your yarn and pull it straight through. That's the first bump. Put your needle through the second bump. Oh dear. Pull it through. Then the third bump. And you'll see that you start to get quite a neat little cord that's a bit more substantial than doing just a chain. Just keep threading it through, slip stitching all the way to the end. So once you've finished those, just snip your end, pull it through the loop, tie off. Now you can either weave these in or just knot them at the end, because we will be trimming these down once we've threaded them through the bag, so we get the handles at the right size. And there you have a lovely cord. So 2 of those, 70 stitches, 70 chains. So back to the bag. The hardest bit is to just get this bit right so that it flips up like that. Now, the best way to do this is to, I haven't glued the bottom yet, and you'll see why in a minute, is to start to close your bag and pinch it all the way down at the sides. Then just allow it, it's a bit scary because you think it's going to break, but just allow it to flip up like that, and then close it absolutely flat. It's now that you can stick these pieces. So you're going to stick, oh, I've got to be careful with this. So you want to fold down A, D, B and C, and then you want to stick the large flap to them. So you don't want it to get under here. You just want to put glue up to here. Now what might be a good idea is just to make a little pencil mark. You can rub that out later. There and there. So then you know where you want to put your glue. So my glue very carefully, just, I mean, this doesn't take a lot of strain, this part of the bag, so just put a blob of glue in that area. Whoops. And then a blob of glue in that area. Fold down the large flap. Just put some glue on the end of here. And fold that down. So annoying about that. Right. Have a little look round your bag. If you're seeing more white marks at this stage, just go ahead and run your felt pen around there so that you don't get any of these white marks that have appeared. And that works beautifully now as a pop-up bag and closes very easily. Right, to make the little holes in the bag, I've used an ordinary hole punch. Now, it's actually quite good if you've got a hole punch that's got a guide to where the centre is. There's the guide. Because if you look at the bag, there is a very central spoke. That one's far too far to the left, that's too far to the right. This is right in the middle. So you can slip your guide over that central. It's difficult for you to see it in there, I think, but I've got the guide going right over the centre stripe. There are your holes on one side. On the other side, still annoying mark. I've had to make a mark. The bag is 15 centimetres wide, so I made a mark at 7.5 centimetres, and that just makes sure that that goes into the centre there. That side. Okay, so you need to thread your cord. That just pushes in there, and that just goes through there. I like them just to be long enough so you can at least see the badge on the front. So then we just need to do a knot in there. Pull that down like that. And then a knot in that side. That's about right. Then I would just chop off the excess like that and like that. Oops. Then thread your cord on the other side. Make sure they are equal in length when you hold them like a bag. Yes, that's right. So I can just cut off the excess there and the excess there. Right, so there you have your little bit gift bag that fits perfectly your little boots. It's kind of nice if you put some black tissue paper in there as well. It just pads them out. There you go.